Hi, this is Brandon Steele. Welcome to the Mainsail Financial Group Podcast series, where we host industry experts and local professionals to really help share some insights, some guidance into areas that we don't really get a focus on day to day. Today, we want to thank Maayan Gordon for joining us. She's really here to kind of help share some thoughts around social and online presence, how we can maybe use these platforms to really improve and grow in our personal lives. As a business owner, Maayan has been working in the digital marketing space for over 10 years now. Is that right?
Yeah, just a little over 10 years.
Perfect. From what I understand, she dropped out of college to basically do full-time copywriting before starting her first business with some huge success through social media marketing. And now she is running a business, coaching business, helping business owners, done a really good job building out her social media presence to really help help her grow in this arena. So really happy to have you here. Thanks again for joining us today.
Yeah, really excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. So I think this is a really good time to have you on. In this crazy year of 2020, it's just been one thing after another. And obviously, we're 7 months into this COVID pandemic. A lot of us are working from home. We're being forced into more of a technology-driven world. And so I imagine some of the folks who maybe had started this online branding and social media presence beforehand have a bit of a head start. But, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts about any opportunity still available to those who are kind of just considering getting into this and starting to grow that side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to your point, it is currently a pretty saturated market. But it's always been a saturated market if you look at the number of people who exist online and are building brand and building reputation. I think what really makes it easy actually to get into is that you listening to this are a unique human being and you have very unique experiences, unique stories, and a unique personality that, while it's unique, is also probably something that's very relatable too. And so that combination of uniqueness and relatability, I think, is a really powerful combination that anyone can tap into. So it really doesn't matter how many people are already successful online with their personal brands, with their business brands. It's very easy to come in and do something similar, but have your own twist or tweak on it and find a lot of success and kind of build your own tribe.
Okay, that's good to hear. Maybe we'll kind of start there then as we get into some things. So it sounds like from what you're saying so far, basically the key to any of this stuff with this social media and online presence is really making sure that you get your voice out, like you are individual, and really make sure that your personality is heard. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that that's more important than the number of followers that you have. And I know that, even on LinkedIn, people get really caught up in, how many connections they have or how many views a particular post got. But I think all of us can really safely say if we had 100 more customers, we'd be pretty happy. And so it's really about figuring out how can you use your voice to draw in those people that are really going to connect with your voice, because it doesn't help to have 250,000 followers and none of them know who you are enough to even want to buy something from you or to spend money with you. Sure. And I've actually talked to, not a huge number, but a good number of people who have more than 100,000 followers and haven't gotten a single client or sale from it because they're posting, let's say, motivational pictures where it's, a quote to make you feel good, but has really nothing to do with them or who they are as a person outside of they also might like that quote and that's why they picked it.
Interesting. So how do you suggest, what is the best way to get that message out?
Yeah, so I think, it's a process of figuring out what's going to work for you. There is no go-to strategy for right from day one, you're going to have guaranteed success. If that were true, someone would be making a whole lot of money selling a course off of that, right? What it really stems from is creating a few systems or a few processes and going through those processes that allow you over time and progressively to identify not only who you are, in a way that you can communicate it with other people, but also what of those elements or those attributes really connect the most with people. And I think it's a really important thing to mention. And for me has been huge. My success in all of my businesses has been driven by my success in terms of personal growth and just better understanding who am I as a person and how do I connect with people, and then being able to communicate that. Because there's a big difference between you really knowing yourself and you knowing yourself and being able to communicate that self that you know to other people. And for most people who have not done a lot of content creation or social media, that's going to be a skill building process of them figuring out, okay, I know this about myself, but how do I communicate it to other people where they're really getting that message that I want to be sending? So, some of the processes for doing that I like to use would be one, creating a list or a legend of the words or the adjectives that you associate yourself with. Mm-hmm. And this is actually, it's a pretty fun brainstorming process, but you just take out a blank piece of paper and think about how would you describe yourself, like at your truest core of how you see yourself. What are those words? Are they, is it generous? Is it kind? And think of all of those words and map them out. And then you start to put them in order. And you think, okay, am I more kind than I am generous? And really understanding that each of these words we have in the English language, you can do this in other languages as well, but they all mean something slightly different. And being kind is different than being generous. And understanding which word you associate with yourself with more can really help you to create a clear identity for yourself that you're portraying online, and also then give you some of that language that you're going to want to be using in your posts. So if you go through this process and you identify, like for me, one of my keywords, and you can use keywords, power words, whatever you want to call them, is significance. Like I truly, truly believe in each person's significance and the power that significance has to not only empower us, but empower other people. And so I want to make sure to use that word significant or significance in some of the content that I'm creating. And this is even something that I'm actively working to get better at, because I'm someone who kind of, I normally up until this year would just write my posts off the cuff. I've been a copywriter for a very long time. And so writing to me comes very easily. Mm-hmm. And I used to write my content in a way where I would just be like, oh, I've got a great idea, or I think this is really going to help someone, write it, post it, throw it out there. And I'm in the process of being more strategic with thinking, okay, what are those words that I want to start using very consistently in my posts so that people really understand the brand that I'm intentionally building, but also so those words can connect with other people who those words really mean something to.
Okay. So it's not just about finding these words to make sure that you're getting your personality out there, but it's actually using those words in some of the posts that you're doing or the copy or whatever.
Yeah, they're super helpful on both the strategic level and the kind of like execution level, where when you have a piece of content, let's say a video clip from one of your interviews or like a Zoom meeting that you had, when you put it on the internet, you also typically want to post some text along with that video to really give it context or to drive a point home. And a lot of people might be thinking about the text that they're going to accompany a video with in the sense of what is the information that I want to convey, instead of what is the brand image that I can additionally build with this text that I'm using. Okay,
that makes a lot of sense. So would you say, one of the questions I had for you actually was, how do you start like a social media or an online campaign? Is that where you would suggest everyone starts if they haven't gotten into that quite yet?
Yeah, I think it's the most strategic way to start, is to really think about what is the emotion or what is the overarching value that really pieces all of our content together, and where are the areas we want all of our content to fall within. And that makes it really cohesive, but also really strategic and intentional. And of course, you don't have to do that. But when you are doing that, then when you have 10 pieces of content to choose from, now you have this, guide or this legend that helps you go, okay, this piece of content is better if I'm thinking about it in the context of my larger goal, which is to have our brand associated with these 3 or 4 things.
Sure. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I think I know the answer to this question, but I wanted to make sure to ask. So when it comes to building out this online presence, who needs to do that? Who needs to worry about that?
Yeah, I mean, no one has to do it or worry about it, but it benefits absolutely every person. And the reason for that is not because of the clients that you're going to get. In fact, I think it's because of the relationships that you're going to build with people who actually are never going to be your clients, but are going to be a more powerful resource to you, your family, and your business than any client could be. So a client can give you money and they can become a friend and a resource and an ally, but someone who you build a relationship with based on shared values has a much larger potential to actually help you in your life in many, many areas, which can include income and finances, but can reach into other areas that income and finances can't touch, which would, I would say, fall into a happiness or a fulfillment layer.
Sure.
Level.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of our followers, we have some business owners too, but a lot are, people who are working for a company, they're W-2 employees, something along those lines. So can you maybe speak to that specifically? Like I think you just did to some degree, but can you maybe dig in a bit more on how they can use these to grow relationships and build, to a better life, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So to contextualize that, I would say every single person is, whether we're, I'd say, conscious and aware of it or not, we all want more of a type of person in our life, or there's one particular person that maybe we haven't identified yet, but if they were in our life would be better, better in whatever context that might mean to you. And so let's say you're someone who's got a job and you're an accountant, and you like being an accountant. It's not something that you hate. You certainly enjoy it, brings you fulfillment and happiness, but you also like monster trucks, or you also like going to the beach and relaxing at the beach. Having other people in your life who also enjoy those things and you can connect with is going to bring you more happiness and more value. And so LinkedIn is just an amazing, amazing place right now. Facebook's pretty good too, but I would say LinkedIn's the absolute best place right now for building those relationships in a way where those people are now your best friends, so to speak, or they're people that maybe you're not best friends, but every time you talk to them, like, you have a great day simply because of that one conversation. And I think that's something we all need more of. Even me, who I would say I have a really high level of happiness. I've got, complete freedom over my schedule. I've got maybe not complete financial freedom, but I make more money than my bills take from me. And I'm, working towards a bunch of different financial goals that I have. The only thing that makes my day-to-day better are amazing conversations with amazing people. Like, that is the one variable factor that I can easily look at and think, oh my God, that day was amazing because I talked to 4 people that all just like made me feel so great. And I provided value to, and they provided value to me, versus, oh, that other day I spoke only to one person and I had a pretty good morning, but then the afternoon was not as amazing as the morning was. And so I think that's really something that we all need more of, are amazing people and conversations with those amazing people.
Sure. So yeah, so using it not so much just on the branding or business side of it, but more on the personal side too, huh?
Yeah, so that would just be, to me, that's personal branding. And I think there's depending on how you see your business, if you see your business really as something that is a part of you, or whether you see your business as something that is its own complete separate entity, that's going to determine a bit of how you connect your personal branding to business branding. But for me, I built my company, Maayan Gordon Media and Champion Empire, to be machines of who I am as a person. I wanted to scale myself. I wanted to scale my ability to do the things that I personally do to a greater degree. And so when I execute on personal branding, whether it's a story about my childhood that has nothing to do with business, it is still very much a part of my business's branding because the two are so intimately tied together.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. And I think to your point, like, there's so much synergy now between, personal and work lives. And so I think not only by using what you're talking about, can you make your life more fulfilling and, as a whole, but to your point, you may also find that some of the people who enjoy the beaches or whatever may also want to do business with you, which can just,
yes. Yeah, 1,000%.
Okay.
And just even one more point to that, I would say for people who are in like a W-2 job, that personal branding can create a lot of leverage for you. whether that's with your current employer to where they see you as more of an asset due to your social following or your relationships you've built through social media, or whether or not it makes you attractive to another company that wants to steal you away. And in fact, this isn't exactly the same thing, but my mother is a professor at the University of Washington. And because she has leverage in terms of her academia skill set, sometimes other universities will come and give her a higher paid offer. And even though she doesn't have any intention or want to leave the University of Washington, she'll still leverage that offer to get more money from the University of Washington. And
Sure.
so the more attractive you become as an employee, the more benefit you are going to get, whether that's in pay, whether that's in, different luxuries that you have through that company, of them, seeing that you have a particular need and them stepping in to fill that need because they want to keep you around and retain you.
Sure. Okay. That's really good. That's super helpful. When you say personal brand, can you maybe talk about how somebody maybe in that situation can use these platforms to really build that out, like a little more in the trenches, I guess?
Yeah. So I think, volume is really helpful. So consistency and volume in terms of content creation and posting, for a number of reasons. One, if you think about social media like the mall, it's filled with people. And even when you know someone or see someone and recognize them on social media, you might easily and quickly forget about them because there's so much else going on. There's so many other people drawing your attention. There's video, there's these stores, right, that are kind of grabbing at your attention. And so just showing up more often makes it easier for people to remember you and be actively thinking about you. The other nice thing about it is the more volume you put out, it's really just data, right? When you're putting out a post, you're putting out data into the platform, and you can get more data back. And the more data you have, the better you're going to be able to optimize and make decisions around what works and what doesn't work. So those are kind of two key points to why I think volume and consistency matter. The other thing, though, I would say is really understand the different types of content that you could be posting. So I like to break down content into like stories. Stories are one type of content. Listicles are another type of content. If you don't know what a listicle is, it's like a short list. So 5 reasons why you should wake up earlier in the morning. Those can do really well. Another type of content is what I call a Twitter style post, meaning it's 1 to 2 sentences. But mapping out and really having a clear picture of like, what are even all the types of content that I could be posting helps you then make decisions about either naturally where you think you're more gifted towards creating that type of content, or where you just even enjoy that type of content. Because the thing I don't want people to do is spend hours and hours doing something they don't enjoy. Like, that is not at all what I am trying to prescribe. Sure. I think that within the world of content, there's a lot of options that maybe people haven't thought of or considered. And if you can map out and find even just one type of content that you could possibly enjoy creating, focus on that. Like, that is the content you should be creating, because I think the benefits of using social media should only be on top of any amount of fulfillment or happiness that you're gaining from the action itself. And while I do think people who are willing to suffer through creating more content might benefit a little bit more, they're also sacrificing something. And so I think figuring out first, what could you do as an action step in terms of creating content? Or maybe it's not creating content, maybe it's just messaging people, but identify the areas where you can execute online that you actually have some level of enjoyment in first. And start there. That's the best place to start, because then it's not going to feel like you're adding this thing you don't want to be doing to your plate. You're actually adding something that maybe you do want to be doing. Like for me, how that started on LinkedIn was I really wanted to get to know who all these people were who had these cool taglines in their name. And we're like, CEO of this company. I'm like, that's so cool. I've never talked to a CEO of that type of company before. Like, how cool would it be if I had a conversation with them? And so that's where I started, was really, yes, I was posting some level of content because I like sharing my insights. And I think, that just comes from a bit of my own ego, is I like to put something out and see where it's able to help people. But also I really, really liked talking to people. And that was something I easily identified and said, okay, if I can just spend most of my time in direct messages or trying to hop on Zoom calls, I'm going to be really happy, even if nothing in particular comes out of it. And from there, then I was able to build a base of extra happiness that I could then figure out, okay, now that I'm doing this thing that I enjoy, how can I make it even better? How can I be more intentional with it? And it just starts with one step, and then you kind of make progress as you go.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of comes back to what you talked earlier about the beach analogy, right? So I think if I'm catching a theme, it's, use these things to try and help get ahead, in terms of building your brand and, kind of being able to see different opportunities in the workplace. But you can do so by doing the parts that you like of it. You don't have to do all the stuff that you don't enjoy. If it's connecting with people, you can go that route. If it's posting content, you can go that route. But using it in some way, shape, or form is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, everyone loves to tell stories. That's why I really love story style posting. Like, it's just figuring out, what do you like to tell a story of? So for some people, that's going to be their family and their kids. And they really enjoy sharing a happy memory that they had with their kids on a Christmas or when they went out for a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Other people, it's going to be more geared towards their work. Like maybe they're really geeked out about artificial intelligence. And so they like telling people about this one time this company integrated this artificial intelligence and the results that it had. So it's really figuring out, if you were talking to a friend, and this is probably a good exercise, if you were talking to a friend, what would you want to share with them? And just think about the platform as that friend and the people out there as the friends that you don't know yet, but talk to them the way you would talk to a friend and say, hey world, this is something I think is really cool and I wanted to share it with you. Or here's something that when I talk about it, it makes me happy. And I want to find out who else really resonates with that.
Sure. I think that's really good advice. Make it a little more personal that way too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, LinkedIn's been oversaturated with, step 1, step 2, step 3 type content, or here are, 3 ways to improve your LinkedIn, or 3 ways you're not using LinkedIn correctly. What there is a lack of is that real personal, I would say, type of content where someone's sharing something that they enjoy, but in a way where it's very clearly attached to their personality, and you get to know them through the information and the content that they're sharing.
Okay. And you've touched on LinkedIn quite a bit. So can you maybe, as we start to wrap up, maybe share a little bit where that platform in particular works best, and maybe where you feel like some of the others may shine too?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think LinkedIn is the best for building relationships, which is why probably I talk about it so much. Is for me, that is the most important area in my life where, one, I get fulfillment, but also in the past year have really seen benefit. Outside of, I've been on Instagram for 8 or 9 years now. And I think Instagram is one of the best places to sell product that costs $100 or less. It is a marketplace. People are down to buy stuff on Instagram, but it's much harder to form, I would say, relationships through Instagram than it is on LinkedIn. And even though I've made way more money creating content on Instagram because I've sold products with that, also I've just been on there longer, I really think that my life has improved more significantly from my content I've posted on LinkedIn because of the people that it's brought into my life. And not just because those people can refer business to me, but because they share with me information and values that help me become the person that I'm trying to be. And I think for, most of the people listening to this right now, yes, we're really happy, or maybe not so happy with the person we are now, but we're all trying to become someone who we see as better. We're all trying to better ourselves and become someone that we are not yet. And the best way I've found to make progress in that area is by surrounding yourself with people who either are already like that or can help you become more like that. So I'd say LinkedIn relationships, Instagram products, like product sales, especially lower end product sales. I would say TikTok for leverage and virality. So the attention that's around TikTok and the people who are interested in it make it so that if you're doing well on TikTok, you can talk about it on another platform in another context and get a lot of benefit out of that, even more than the actual benefit of being on TikTok and having people comment or view your posts. Let's see, what are the other ones? Twitter, I think, is a really great place for asserting opinions. Like Twitter is super, super opinionated right now, much less factual or information driven, and really, I'd say, opinion and personality driven. So if you have a really strong part of your personality that you don't really feel comfortable posting on LinkedIn or on Instagram, Twitter's a great place, I think, to post some of that personality and some of that side of you. I haven't used Twitter nearly as much as the other platforms, so I'm not quite as aware of what the business benefit would be, but I think there's, a lot of benefit to just being able to express yourself. Let's see, are there any other major platforms that you want me to touch on there?
Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. Yes. Facebook is, I would say, a great place also to build relationships, but a better place to build communities. So while LinkedIn has a really great one-to-one relationship building structure set up for it, its groups are not so great. Like, they're still relatively new compared to the other features, and they're just not something that people are as active in compared to Facebook groups. To me, is the best feature of Facebook, is the fact that there are these like really robust groups where people are really active. There's a lot of information being shared. There's a lot of community kind of being built through people participating in the different groups. And then, Facebook can be great for a number of different things. Obviously, Facebook ads is one of the best ad products that exists. It's something that I'm just getting into this year with testing out Facebook ads. I think there's a lot of analysis and data that you can learn from using Facebook ads, even if they don't directly convert, that you can learn things about your business that apply in many different manners. I would say also, like, the events feature is really one of the best out of any other platform. I know LinkedIn's trying to work a bit on its event feature and kind of what it offers and how it connects to the other parts of the platform. But I think Facebook events can be really, really effective if you're, trying to promote an event.
Okay. That's great. That's a great place to wrap up there. I think that's super helpful. Just like quick couple minutes on how to use each platform. So I want to thank you again for joining us here today. But before we do wrap up, if somebody did want to get in touch with you and engage in a relationship or just ask you any questions about some of this stuff, is there a place that is there a best way to get in touch?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, send a message if you're going to do that. That way I have some context. I try and block out a couple of the people that send me connection requests based on different factors. But I always will accept a connection request from someone who sends me a message. The other place I would say is my website. So it's maayangordonmedia.com. And there's a bunch of different contact buttons on that website where you can send me a direct message as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us here today. And thank you guys all for joining us as well. We hope this is helpful. Again, if you have any questions for us, you can text us at 425-502-7693. That's 425-502-7693. Thanks again, Maayan, for joining us. And we hope you guys have a good day.
Thank you.